tradition, conservation, family, the outdoors. It matters to you. It matters to us. This is Hunting Matters, presented by Houston Safari Club Foundation. Here's Joe Bitar.
Good morning. Welcome to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Bitar.
I am Ramon Robles.
And we are up to no good once again.
That's true. We're early, no good doers.
And I'm ne'er-do-wells.
Ne'er-do-wells.
I like that phrase, ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah.
Man, the minute my eyes open, I'm up to no good. Or so my wife would tell you.
Hey,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I just realized what the day is. Have we renewed our license for
hunting licenses?
Hunting licenses?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you brought that up because this year, for the first time ever, you could take a picture of your hunting license and show it to a game warden. Just to prove the validity. But now Texas Parks and Wildlife Department has gone a step beyond that, and you can actually, there's going to be digital tags issued through the app. I haven't looked at the interface yet, but you used to have to cut off part of your hunting tag and write the date and the county and all that stuff. Now, starting September 1st, you're going to be able to actually use tags digitally to tag certain game species.
Cool.
Which is
far and away easier.
I love Texas Parks and Wildlife, but what took so long? I'm sure the technology behind it was pretty extensive, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm excited
They're
about it.
probably worried about fraud and stuff, so they had to iron it all out.
Yeah, and my question somebody asked me was, what are they going to do for lifetime license holders that bought their licenses 20 years ago? And I'm sure there's a consideration for that. You probably punch in your license number and it pops up on the app and it's all there. So I'm sure they've got the bases covered. They've been working on it a long time. So
smart people.
That's pretty cool. We're a digital age. We don't meet in person. We don't do anything,
And as a honorary game warden, I don't really have to buy a license.
True.
But I just do it at
That was over a year ago. I think the honorary game warden tenure works out after a year. Was it a lifetime?
Yeah, I mean the badge doesn't have an expiration date or nothing.
Well, let's be fair. You got the badge at the dollar store, so let's be fair on that.
It's a badge.
Yeah, I know. What's happening, folks? If you want to know what's going on with Houston Safari Club Foundation, go to WeHuntWeGive.org. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't have to be a member to go. We invite people of all walks of life to come out and enjoy our monthly events. We'd love for you to talk to us and become a member because we're all about raising money as a nonprofit organization in order to fund scholarships, youth education programs, and conservation efforts all across the world. So go to WeHuntWeGive.org, go under the membership button and look at all the monthly events. We've got a long-range shooting event coming up with Gunworks as our sponsor. After we're done with that, at the end of the day, and we cut the wristbands off, Garrison Brothers is going to be there providing some bourbon samples, and our friend who's in studio today, though there he is, he just walked in.
Oh my goodness!
Mr. Hector Villareal, who is the CEO of LUCHO, is going to be there passing out some fine cigars. So I know Ramon will probably show up for that because it's free.
Why isn't his name Hector Lucho?
I call him Lucho. My Freudian slips. I always want to call him Lucho.
Well, we'll have to ask him where Lucho comes from.
Absolutely. Okay, before we get started, here's my fun fact for the week. Who introduced tobacco to Europe?
Who introduced tobacco to Europe?
Yep.
Who introduced?
You're going to kick yourself when I tell you who it is.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
One hint. This guy used to own a couple of ships. Three of them, as a matter of fact.
Okay. Got it. Christopher Columbus.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, Christopher Columbus introduced tobacco to Europe, and Roman Catholic missionaries helped increase the popularity of smoking cigars by giving out tobacco seeds. So they were the early tobacco seed dealers. And the first Spanish cigar company was established in Cuba. Throughout history, many believe that cigars had medicinal properties. So
they still do.
That's all according to what I found on the internet, and our guest today is going to tell me if any of that's wrong, I'm sure. So welcome today to our guest, Hector Villareal from LUCHO. You can check out their website at LUCHO, LUCHO.com/cigars. Welcome, Hector.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Appreciate you being here.
Now, honestly, Joe, are you a cigar smoker? And don't just say yes because Hector's sitting here.
I am an occasional cigar smoker.
Okay.
I used to keep the humidor at the house full.
Okay.
And as we've gotten older and our friends and family and stuff is spread out all over the globe, I love to sit around a campfire or fire pit and smoke a cigar, but I like to do it with some buddies.
Yeah.
And my wife even smokes cigars too.
Neat.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So yeah, I know. I've got my preferences of types and size and gauges and that sort of thing that I like on cigars. But
okay, well, I'm really looking forward to this interview because one, obviously, I'm going to play for like a free cigar or two, and two, I have a lot of questions about cigar smoking, so this is going to work out really well for me.
Cool. So Hector, we'd like to kind of start off with our listeners learning a little bit about your guests. So, what did you do before you started LUCHO?
Well, I actually got into this business, and what we do is we have, under the LUCHO name, we have several products. We have menswear, which we design and manufacture. We design and manufacture a line of women's shoes, and about 12 years ago, we decided we wanted to have cigars. And the reason behind that is we would have our clients who would come in, they would buy fine custom garments, and I wanted to give them a cigar. And I couldn't find a decent cigar that I could buy consistently for around $10 because we were really going through a lot of cigars. So I started looking into it, met with some people who actually manufactured cigars, learned the business, and I had an opportunity to purchase the business from this person who actually taught me how to do it. And fast forward, gosh, I think it's 12 or 13 years now. I can't keep up with it. We actually have manufacturing facilities in Central America and Nicaragua, and that's how we got started into this. But into the business of the menswear, which we also do, I used to be a customer there. I was a customer at LUCHO, and LUCHO's been around in Houston since 1989. If you do a Google search of LUCHO Houston, you can see all the great things that they've done throughout the years.
All right, so the cigars isn't what the name LUCHO isn't about the cigars. It first was about.
It was first. So the person who founded the company, his name is Luis Flores, a gentleman from Peru, and in Latin America, if your name is Luis, your nickname is LUCHO. So when he founded the company, he thought it would be easier to
makes sense.
Yeah, to use it as his brand name. And LUCHO, it has so much brand recognition that there's no sense to change it.
Yeah, of course.
So you even way before that, you had a little bit of a media background as well, correct?
That's right. I spent no, I was in. I was going to say I spent. No, I enjoyed.
I pined away in the cell.
I enjoyed 16 years in television with Univision, and for half of that I was the news anchor, and then for the other half of that I became the weather anchor for about 8 years. Yep.
Man, I like to think that being on radio intimidates people. Yeah. And that I have some sort of power over them. Yeah. Not with LUCHO. Not with Hector.
No.
I called you LUCHO.
We're going to be calling him LUCHO because of you. Because of you. He's got a pretty good looking guy. He's definitely got a face for television.
We're going to have to kick him out.
Compared to us, let's hope nobody drops by and has to choose because you and I are out. All right, folks, we're here on Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. Going to take a quick break. We'll be back with our guest Hector Villareal with LUCHO. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Vitar.
I am Ramon Robles.
So, Hector, I got to ask you, folks, we're joined today by Hector Villareal with LUCHO. You can check out all their cool stuff at lucho.com. That's LUCHO.com. And specifically, we're talking about cigars. So go to lucho.com/cigars. Hector, I'm curious. I've been in your shop a few times, and man, you guys got some good-looking stuff in there. I mean, it is top-of-the-line stuff, but I shouldn't be drawn to it, but I have a wife who is a shoe fanatic. Like if we were ever watching news or show, she can name them off the, red bottoms or whatever. I mean, she knows them. In fact, years ago, I walked in her closet one day, and she won't hit me too hard for this, but I've told the story before. Walked in her closet, and I came out, and I was like, got some new shoes, huh? And these were back in the days of that show Sex and the City, which I was forced to watch with her. And I'd look at the boxes because she kept them all in boxes. So that's her thing.
And you could tell there was a new pair.
Oh, yeah.
That's a talent
in
itself.
I could tell. And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, I know what Jimmy Choo is. I know what Manolo Blahnik is. I know these brand names, Charlotte." And she's like, my wife has always been one of these people. There's things I learned from her early on. She doesn't compromise on toilet paper, sunglasses, or shoes.
I love it.
So, I mean, how did you get into the clothing business?
Well, the company, like Lucho, has been around since 1989.
Yeah.
And one year, while I'm working with Univision, I sign an awesome contract. So now I become a client at Lucho.
Yeah.
And I've known about Lucho. Lucho had sponsored some charity celebrity fashion shows. And when we say celebrity fashion shows, really what they do is they get people from television to go down the runway, raise money for different nonprofits in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, as a weatherman or weather guy with Univision, I had several opportunities to be in one of those shows. So I was very familiar with what they were doing. I walk in there and I just loved the stuff. I had been in television at that time for about 13 years, I think, 13, 14 years. And I had an opportunity after the first year becoming a true client, having a conversation with the previous owner, Lucho. And he mentioned he was ready to retire, either close the company, close the store, or sell it. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I took advantage of it, partnered up with a young lady who is the designer, is still the designer. Her name is Patricia Sterian. She's a Brazilian of Italian descent. And she's the one who designs everything. So really that's the talent behind the look or the appearance of our products.
Right.
And a couple of years later, I ended up buying the company from Lucho and continuing. And that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
And then we added the cigar line a few years after that. I've always enjoyed cigars ever since I was in college.
Right.
And I always had what you were mentioning about the origin of the tobacco and how it was imported into Europe by Christopher Columbus. There's an interesting story that tobacco is one of the oldest regulated businesses, along with shipping and insurance. And all of those three were originated in the Caribbean, in the New World, when Christopher Columbus came around. But that's how we got started with the cigar company as well.
Wow. And I apologize for using the broad term clothing. It's not clothing. I mean, these pieces, I look at the stuff that you guys have in the store over there, and I consider them works of art. I mean, they're just,
thank you.
From the
Thank
ties
you.
to the shoes to the men's clothing. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I feel better about myself just walking in there, to be honest with you. So, so let's switch gears here and get onto our main topic of the day, cigars. Tell us about the Lucho cigar line, kind of how you got involved with it. You talked a little bit about that, what makes it different, and when are Ramon and I going to accompany you on a trip to Cuba?
Oh, wow. Well, that's, I think that's, we got to, anytime, as soon as we can go. There are a lot of people who go out there on a daily basis. And so there's an interesting story behind Lucho Cigars. And it almost seems like it could be a reality show or something on Netflix, because when we first started, as I mentioned before, I became business partners with somebody who was actually making cigars. And they were being manufactured in the state of Veracruz in Mexico, where there's a certain leaf that's used as a wrapper and a binder. And it's a Mexican wrapper, and it's a very, very hardy leaf, and it tends to impart a great part of the flavor to the cigars. So we were down there in Veracruz, and we had our chief of operations. His name is Frank, a gentleman, Cuban, who had been making cigars for 50 years. He was our chief of operations down there. He was dating a young lady, a lady who was younger than he was. He passed away about 5 years ago. And during that time when we were in Veracruz, that's when the cartels and the drug situation was getting worse in the state of Veracruz. And I received a phone call from Frank, and Frank never calls. He has everything under control. And I always say, when you get a call from somebody like that, you answer the phone, something's up, and I knew it. And I get the phone call, and he says, hey, somebody, and he mentions the person, wants to buy your land. And I ask him, is this the father of your girlfriend? And he says, yeah, that's exactly who it is. And I thought it over, and I thought, well, at least he's offering some money, because the situation was really very dire. There were stories of these drug cartels just coming into a ranch or property and just letting the people know, hey, you have until tomorrow to get your things and leave, because we're taking your property. So we took the money and we sold everything that we had, brought Frank back to Houston, and for about a year trying to figure out what we did. He got called by some of his friends in Nicaragua. And during this time, there was call it a brain drain out of Cuba, where a lot of the big cigar manufacturers were moving into Nicaragua, the northeastern part of the state of the country, which is called the Esteli region. Mm-hmm. And that region is fertile ground for tobacco, and it's one of the most prized areas. So you have all the big names going out there. They brought in a lot of people from Cuba, a lot of the master cigar rollers and master blenders. Frank, because of his relationships, we were able to kind of scoot our way in there on the coattails, and that's how we ended up in Nicaragua. Things have changed now. Now we just use a team. Think of it as a co-op of cigar rollers. There's only so many to go around. So you schedule your production based on a calendar where you order or say, I have X number pounds of tobacco and I need X number of cigars. How many cigar rollers do I need? And you hire those on a temporary basis. Things have changed tremendously, and the quality is just phenomenal when it's coming out of there.
Yeah.
Which leads me to this. It used to be, I guess it was just that whole forbidden fruit thing, that Cuban cigars were the pinnacle of cigar smoking, and they very well may be. But my understanding is, and like you kind of alluded to, is a lot of people are leaving Cuba. All those really good cigar makers and rollers are leaving and going to Nicaragua and places like that, and they're making cigars that are just as good.
Phenomenal product. And what Cuban cigars had was a peppery taste. When you would touch the cigar to your tongue, your palate, you would feel this peppery taste. And then that translated through the smoking of it and the aroma. That's what gave it that very pure taste. It was low in nicotine as far as the concentration because of the land. And that's what you have similar in Nicaragua. And that's what gave the cigars. And of course, the Cuban authorities had a magnificent marketing plan where it just sold it on that romanticized idea.
Yeah, right.
That's cool. And so the LUCHO cigars, you mentioned the fillers and the wrappers. Are they all sourced from the same locations? Do you guys do blends?
We do. We do have one line that's exactly what you just mentioned, and that's in Spanish is called a puro. When you talk about a cigar, in Spanish, you would order, say, hey, vamos a fumar un puro. Let's smoke a puro. So a puro is translated as pure, which means that the three parts of the cigar, the filler, the binder, and the wrapper, come from the same either plantation or from the same region or the same country. We do that, but now there's so much demand that we're able to buy very, very good tobacco from other suppliers. So we do produce some blends with Sumatran wrappers, Mexican wrappers, things like that.
That's that whole science of blends and wrappers and fillers and stuff was something that when I first started smoking cigars that was new to me, because to the uneducated, it's like a cigar is a cigar. They get a bunch of leaves, and they're all the same types of leaves, and they're all the same blend, and they wrap them all together.
I wish that were the case.
It's not the case.
So much easier.
Well, it's almost like I think you can compare it to making a wine or making a fine bourbon. You put a wine in a bourbon barrel and vice versa, you're going to get a different end product. So
absolutely.
We're going to dig into that a little bit further. So, folks, we're here today with Hector Villareal with LUCHO Cigars. Learn about them at lucho.com/cigars. We'll be right back on the other side with Hunting Matters on KPRC 950.
How you doing out there? You ever seem to have one of those days where it just seems like everybody's getting on your case, from your teacher all the way down to your best girlfriend? Well, I used to have them just about all the time, but I found a way to get out of it. Let me tell you about it. Sitting in the classroom thinking it's a drag, listening to the teacher rap just ain't my bag. Noon bells ring, that's my cue. I'm gonna meet the boys on floor number 2, smoking in the boys' room.
Good morning. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Bitar.
I am Ramon Robles.
Some of the music you pick just cracks me up. It's so appropriate.
It's unfortunate that we can't light up this morning.
Yeah, especially not in the studio.
I guess you could once.
Then I would never be invited back. Yep. Yeah. Folks, we're joined today by Hector Villarreal. See, I've got a cigar in the corner of my mouth. Hector Villarreal with the LUCHO. Learn about them at lucho.com/cigars. That's LUCHO.com. So, Hector, once again, thanks for joining us. And I want to talk to you this segment. You guys have, I've been to your website. You guys have a pretty cool cigar club set up. So tell us about that.
Thanks. Well, it's called the LUCHO Cigar Club, of course, and it came out of last year's pandemic. Our cigar business is based on private label cigars. So we manufacture cigars for other brands. And we also have 3 cigar rollers. So we do a lot of events in private events and in-person events. Like today, OTC, or not today, past week, we had OTC in town, and we had a couple of parties with cigar parties with 200-300 cigars at a time. When the pandemic hit last year, all of that, of course, was wiped off the map. Nobody was doing that. And in order to survive or to adapt to it, we came up with the idea. I don't know why we didn't come up with it years ago, where we formed a cigar club. We ended up designating 3 levels, sign up, everywhere from, I think it's $40 to $100, and depending on the level sign up, you get 4 cigars and either a humidor and a carrying case and a nice lighter and a couple of goodies. And then it's $25 a month, $25 a month, and you get 3 premium grade cigars in the mail, free shipping, and it's easiest thing in the world. And we landed on 3 cigars. We thought that's the right amount of cigars that you can realistically, unless you're a dedicated smoker where you have 2 or 3 cigars a week, then that would be another issue. But for the most part, we get to smoke 2 or 3 cigars a month, which is really, really cool.
Right.
And for $25, it won't break the bank at all.
Yeah.
I know we spend more than that on nothing.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
way you get a premium product. So we launched that, have the website, and it's easy to do. It's one click and you're a member.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to do, and like you said, having them delivered to you right to your door is just everything is so easy now because it's all virtual. And you okay
Are you making fun of me?
You okay with there, Ramon?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Ramon dropped a cigar. But that's a phenomenal idea. And but let's look. As a culture, we're just getting spoiled. It's so easy just to get on Amazon and order everything you want. Why not cigars?
That's incredible. And we actually have same-day delivery, too. If you sign up.
Wow.
If you sign up before 5 o'clock, if you're in the city.
Will you deliver them, hand deliver them? And
No, I won't. We have somebody that's smarter to do that.
well, I know how busy you are. It's hard.
looking
It's
at the
hard to even
lighter.
track you down.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the lighter that comes with this. This is phenomenal.
It's a great torch lighter. That thing will last. We've tried it. And when I say that, not only use it, but drop it, run over it, kick it, and it still lights.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's pretty sweet.
And if I sign up now this morning, you'll run out to your car, come back in at the end of the show.
The shop is just down the street. I'll just
right.
go get them.
Well,
Yeah.
but
That's a
As
win-win.
long as your credit card goes through.
Well, ooh,
Or check.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll write you a check. Yeah, no problem.
Ramon pays in ruples. He uses ruples. He's refusing American currency any longer. He's not going to accept
Well, just
it.
for now.
You're such a nonconformist.
Or Bitcoin pretty soon.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Don't even get me started on that. My kid won't leave me alone. He texts me every day, "Dad, are you in Bitcoin?" I'm like, "Dude,
man.
leave me alone. I'm an old man."
Yep.
So I'm just curious. Do you get to go on site and see these places where the leaf is grown and where they're assembled and that sort of thing?
Lately, no.
Yeah, of course.
And the not only the pandemic, but
Right.
that wasn't really a big concern. The concern was the political situation down in Nicaragua. And if we go back 5 or 6 years ago, it was beautiful. You can fly into Managua and you go out towards the coast or the huge lake out there, and it was beautiful. This region, it's very isolated. It's a bit more developed now, but it's not like going out to Napa, where you run around and you run into all these wineries and beautiful places up there. It's pretty sparse out there, so it wouldn't be as fun to do something like that.
Yeah.
And the last time I went down there, took a trip to just see how things are going, must have been at least about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it was a quick trip, 3 days, make sure everything's okay. And even if you're there and something goes wrong, there's really not a lot you can do. You just have to depend on the people who are working for you. So luckily we have a good a good team down there. We have an operations manager. Of course, we have one of our master blenders. And talking about the tobacco growing, it really isn't. It's an art.
Mm-hmm.
Any of us here, the 3 of us, can technically or realistically probably roll a cigar, produce wine or bourbon, or bake a cake, but there's no telling how any of those things will turn out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these people who are actually, they've dedicated their lives. They're tobacco whisperers. They walk the fields, they go in there, they touch the leaves, they tell you, this is ready to go, this isn't ready to go. And even after the harvest is just one portion of it. Then the leaves are taken to, let's call it a barn, and they're packed high, and they have to ferment. And you have these bundles of leaves that are about the size of one of these industrial trash bins.
Yeah.
And those start getting heated up, and because of the fermentation and then the ammonia in the leaves, and there's a whole process that goes into it where you can, if you're not careful, you can actually lose your entire investment in a matter of days, even trying to do everything right.
Yeah. Like you said, though, I mean, you have to have a trusted network to be that far away running your business for you over there, especially if you can't get over there for whatever reason.
Right. And so, yeah, you're right. We're blessed that we have that great team down there. We pay them well, too, so that helps a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. Cigar Smoking 101.
Yes.
For the new person who wants to pick up a cigar. What are a couple of tips and tricks when you're walking into a cigar store?
For the most part,
or when you're walking into Luchos.
And this would be anywhere. Talk to the person at the counter. Hopefully the person in charge is knowledgeable, and tell them that you are new and you want to get started. The great majority of them are pretty honest, and they'll lead you to. They won't try to sell you the most expensive cigar that has all the marketing bells and whistles with the fancy wrappers on them, and start you off like that. And the one thing that what I emphasize is lose that fear or that intimidation of what a cigar is. Basically, what you're doing, we're sucking on a burning leaf, and we're waiting for the enjoyment. And a lot of people don't get it. Why do you do that? Why are you doing that? And the only way you can explain that is just try it. And if there's a curiosity for it, ask the person there, and then take it easy. Don't just be convinced by one person. Ask different people. And I get this asked a lot, and this is one thing I would actually recommend. I always get asked, what's the best cigar? And there's no best cigar. It's what you like, what you enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the best cigar.
One thing I did, because you didn't ask for my advice, is when I first started smoking
cigars. I was
I
about to.
Yeah, I know, but we're kind of short on time. I have for lack of a better word, a diary of every cigar I smoked. I say the wrapper.
Wow.
I had a little sheet that it started you out, the gauge and all that, and little things you fill out, and I kept that, and I rated it at the end of the smoke, and I would look back and go, okay, and I'd bring it into the shop and go, okay, why do I like this? And they would say, oh, well, that's more on the lighter side, or that's a Connecticut leaf, or that's, that the filler is this. And that's what helped me. I mean, I wrote down why I liked it and what I didn't like about it.
Did you find out what taste profile you were inclined?
More mild. I was
mild.
a lot more
was
mild.
it a peppery or?
No,
okay.
no, not the, I mean, I don't, like if I'm drinking, but if I'm just going to go out and
you would want something that's smooth, as more
something with my
premier,
coffee, something I would smoke with my coffee. Yeah,
He likes them smooth.
I do. I like them smooth.
Yep, absolutely. I'm curious, how has the pandemic affected supply for you?
It was an issue with shipping.
Yeah,
it was an issue with shipping because a lot of it goes from Nicaragua to Miami, and at one point, shipping in Miami was just chaotic.
Yeah,
so that affected. Luckily, we have a huge stock where what we do is when we receive a production, we keep it here. I keep it in a warehouse, and I keep it at least 8 months where it's just sitting there, mellowing out, just acquiring a different taste profile. And that's one of the reasons, since we're not a gigantic, huge producer, I'm able to do that where, let's say if I have 20,000 cigars in storage, that sounds like a lot, but a lot of these major tobacco companies, that's what they produce maybe in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference. So what we're talking about is a boutique cigar,
right?
Where you can maintain the quality control, and we're not just pushing out product by the hundred thousands.
Yeah, that's cool. That's unique. Absolutely. Folks, we're here joined today by Hector Villareal with LUCHO Cigars. You can learn about them at lucho.com. That's lucho.com/cigars. We'll be right back with our last segment after the break. Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. Good morning. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Vitar.
I am Ramon Robles.
And we are joined today by Hector Villareal with LUCHO Cigars. lucho.com/cigars, LUCHO. Hector, thanks once again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be out here this morning.
So I'm curious, what is it about the cigar that does it for you?
the enjoyment part of it. It's being able. It's actually, to me, it's that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's the flavor of inhaling that aroma and holding it on your palate, and then watching it as you exhale and puffing the smoke out. It's that taste, similar to enjoying a good whiskey, a good glass of wine, or a beer. It's the taste. It's our senses. It's us as human beings. If that affects our mood, whether it be a cigar, wine, whiskey, a tequila, it affects your mood, and that puts you into a different state, a state of being relaxed and enjoying the moment.
Is it true, and you alluded to this during the break, that it was true, that the longer the ash on your cigar, the more of a man you are?
Is it yours lasted? Is it
The ash?
What? No, and to be completely honest, that's one of those things that I feel has been a marketing ploy.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing to it. The ash falls off, it's ash that fell off. Actually, if you leave the ash on longer, it's harder to smoke because you're having to draw the smoke through all of that ash. And the other part is having a cigar and cutting it and not wanting to cut it until you're smoking it. Well, there's nothing in the cigar. You cut the tip off, it doesn't have a soul.
Right.
It's not going to exit there.
I've released the aroma.
Yeah, nothing like that. So when I travel, with having to travel and check suitcases or carry on, I just have all my cigars cut, ready to go.
You had to do it. You had to push this hot button. You saw how angry you got?
Sorry.
Golly.
Sorry about that.
So you prefer cut over punch?
I prefer the V cut.
The V cut.
The V cut, because it goes in through the wrapper, the binder, and the filler, and you're able to get all of them at the same time. With the straight cut, you have to be very good, very precise. And if you're in an environment, we usually have a cigar, we're talking with friends, we're going back and forth, hold my drink, let me like this. It's kind of hard to do a straight cut. Yeah. And the punch, it has to be very, very sharp. If it's not very sharp, you'll break.
I know.
Break the wrapper.
I've had that experience, and it's very upsetting.
Very upsetting. Get the V cut. It's always the best.
Your cigar goes out. Do you relight it, or do you get a new cigar?
If it is if you're halfway down, I would knock off as much as you can of the ash, and then with your key or a small knife, try to scrape out what you can and try it. Good quality cigar, you'll be able to go past that first sensation of that smell of that previously lit cigar. Otherwise, just get a new one. And don't try to put it out. I see people at our events where they're smashing it into the ashtray, and it makes a bigger mess.
Just let it burn out.
Just let it burn out, and that would be the best thing. And, of course, blow into the cigar. If you're going to let it go out and smoke it later, blow into it instead of inhaling.
Okay.
So you'll push some of that smoke out, which is usually what leaves that bad taste in it.
Interesting.
That's cool, man. I'm learning all kind of stuff today. You mentioned earlier about what you enjoyed about smoking a cigar. I mean, we a lot of times we talk about the outdoors and hunting and fishing and group activities, and I like that aspect of it. I like the socialization aspect of it as well.
Absolutely. The most popular guy at a campsite is the one that brought the bourbon and the cigars.
Exactly.
Everybody would just, hey, you're such a great guy. I don't know your name, but hey.
Yeah.
So it's that part. It's for some reason, and I can't explain it, and I don't want to even find an explanation. When we do these things, these social events, like you said, a campfire or out hunting, a cigar has always been a part of it. And in movies, whether they're from the American Revolution to pirates to gangsters to Wall Street, anything, they're always sitting around with a cigar.
Yeah.
It's been a part of history, a part of our existence. And why? I don't know. I just know it's there, and thank God.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had some of my funniest conversations with a bunch of guys standing around a fire smoking cigars and having a glass of bourbon. It's just it just adds an aspect to the whole experience. And we focused on cigars and quite a few other topics today, but you're an outdoorsman.
Yes,
so you hunt, you like to bird hunt. Yeah, what's your preference? If I said to you tomorrow, like, Hector, you can go out and you can only go do one style of hunting or shooting, what would you go do?
It'd probably be bird.
Yeah.
Dove is the easiest thing. After I've been hunting since I was a young boy.
Yeah.
And as you grow and then your career takes off and you're able to go do some other hunts, and I'm past the chasing sheep up and down mountains. or early morning, setting up the feeder. And my friends out there, they know this already. Now, if I want venison, go down to the meat market. It's packed. It's in patties and it's in chops, ready to go. I like dove hunting tremendously. Yeah. And I try to stay away from duck or geese usually because that's when it's cold. And I don't like
the worst conditions for man are the best conditions for waterfowl.
Yes,
every time.
Absolutely.
And to your point, you can't smoke a cigar sitting in a deer stand.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So dove would be my best. You can drive out here an hour away from here in the morning, hunt a couple of hours, be back in time for lunch, and then afternoon meetings.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's smart.
I just want to remind folks that on September 26th, Hector and his crew is going to be out there for our long-range shooting event. We're going to be a shooting demonstration out at American Shooting Centers, and folks can go to the website at wehuntwegive.org. We are going to wrap up the day with LUCHO Cigars, so that's going to be a phenomenal experience. We're looking forward to that, and we appreciate you doing that. We kind of like to end the show a little bit of nonsense on our part, so we have a do you have any lightning round questions that
well, no, I mean, nothing.
You have another question.
These were all, I can see your brain. Just cigar.
Go ahead.
No,
come on, Ramon.
No, go ahead and ask it.
How does the ring gauge affect the flavor of a cigar?
More product. So if it's a larger ring gauge, then you have more tobacco burning at the same time. That'll give you a much stronger sense of the flavor. Now, along those lines as well, for the most part, you think of the longer the cigar, it's stronger. Yeah. And that's usually the opposite because let's say you take a Churchill-sized cigar, which is about 6.5 to 7 inches normally, and then you take a Robusto, which is a smaller cigar. You would think that the smaller cigar would be lighter, but look at it from a physics point of view. If you're smoking a Churchill cigar, the burning part is 6 inches away from your lips, where the Robusto is only 3.5 inches away. Yeah. So you get the more intense flavor from a Robusto. So that, along with the ring gauge, will give you a much better sense of the tobacco.
The lighter the tobacco leaf is not necessarily indicative of the strength of the cigar.
No, absolutely not. There's this, I guess, call it a misconception about the Maduro leaf with its darker. Some of those Maduro leaves are very sweet and mellow, earthy. Yeah. And where you have a lighter blend, we have one of our lighter blends where it's extremely peppery and it's spicy and there's a lot of flavor in it, but it's a lighter shade of wrapper.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you think about the physics of having the cigar diameter versus length. That makes sense now. You think the smoke's got to travel a greater distance. So I want you to think back because I know you've had some. We've all had some phenomenal experiences in our life, and I want you to think back. If you could recall a day in your past where you were sitting in this just absolutely beautiful environment, having a cigar, what would be kind of one of your fondest cigar nature environment?
Actually, I do have one.
Okay,
I
figured you did.
Pardon me, and it has to do with back in my days as a weatherman. One of the perks of being the weatherman is you got invited to the International Hurricane Conference in the Bahamas.
Nice.
By the Bahamian Ministry of Tourism.
Nice.
Which is a great package to go out there. They set you up with a satellite dish, and you would broadcast from at that time they hosted us at the Atlantis hotel.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty good. And they had a cigar roller for us there. And this was before I got into the business. And they had a cigar roller there, and I became really, really good friends with him. He was from Cuba, and he was hired by Atlantis. He ended up being in New York, and he opened up a shop out there, and I bought cigars from him. But that's when he came out with this amazing tobacco from under the table, rolled a couple of cigars, and the next day I had a deep sea fishing excursion. And we were out there. The fish weren't biting, but the water was so calm. It was glass-like. So we're just sitting out there in the middle of the Caribbean, cocktail in your hand, and a cigar. And it was so peaceful. I remember that amazingly. And then the kicker to that is I thought I had fish on. And when I pulled it out, I'm not kidding, I'll find the picture. It was a gigantic trash bag.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
It was ridiculous.
That was a lovely story right up till the end.
And I have the picture with the rod, the trash bag, cigar in my mouth.
Nice.
That's great. All right, folks, we've been joined today by our guest. Thank you so much, Hector Villareal with LUCHO Cigars. Go to LUCHO, LUCHO.com/cigars, and join that cigar club. Yeah. We'll see you next week on Hunting Matters on KPRC 950.